Alright, what is up, Macomb? It is C4 Sports Time, that time of the week, right here on Wednesday nights, 6 to 8 p.m. My name is Matt. You can follow us all along on Twitter as you listen online at 883thedog.com. It is at LManMatt93. Feel free to tweet any of us a question during the show.
And I'm Ryan Mason at Mason_IL Chief.
I am Adam Feiner, and you can tweet me at NobodyFeiner.
And I am your primetime player, Darius Hawkins. Y'all can find me on Twitter at _Hawk_13.
All right, before we get the show underway, let's go ahead and clear out the schedule for this weekend for WIU Sports. Be sure to go out and support your fellow Leathernecks. Tomorrow, Thursday, February 27th, women's basketball is at Fort Wayne, Indiana. That starts at 6 p.m. Men's basketball is home versus Fort Wayne. That's right here in Macomb at 7 p.m. Then the day after that is Friday, February 28th. Track and field is at the Summit League Championship. That is also in Fort Wayne, Indiana. That is an all-day event. Baseball, you guys are at Evansville, Indiana, and Carbondale, Illinois at 12 p.m. Then we go to Saturday, March 1st. Softball is at Southern Illinois, which is also going to be in Carbondale, Illinois. That's at 12 p.m. Baseball is once again at Evansville in Evansville, Indiana. That's at 1 p.m. Women's basketball is at IUPUI. That's in Indianapolis, Indiana. That starts at 2 p.m. Sunday, March 2nd, we have softball at Miami, Ohio. I'm sure the girls got excited when they saw Miami, but ended up being Miami, Ohio. They're in Carbondale, Indiana anyway, so that's at 9 a.m. Women's tennis is taking on Chicago State in Galesburg, so right next to Macomb. That's at 10 a.m. Men's tennis is at Southern Illinois, and that's in Carbondale at 11 a.m. A lot of stuff in Carbondale this weekend. Softball is at Murray State, once again in Carbondale, Illinois. That's at 11 a.m. And baseball takes on Evansville in Evansville, Indiana at 1 p.m. We'll get to Western baseball in just a second as our resident baseball player is back home from Louisiana. But before we get to Western baseball, we'll talk about Western basketball. And basically it's nothing new from the past 2-3 weeks we've been talking about this. It's another loss for the Leathernecks. This time we lose to South Dakota 64-54. WIU dropped to 3-9 in conference and 9-18 overall. We've lost 6 straight, including 9 of our last 11, which was brought to my attention by Darius right before the show. Freshmen Garrett Covington and Jabari Sandifer each scored 6 points during a 12-2 run to bring the Necks to within 1 point at the 12-minute mark during the second half of our last game. But an 8-1 run by the Coyotes after that sparked another Western run, which was good to see. We got 2 scoring runs in a game. This time it was Michael Ocharobia and Jabari Sandifer once again, which brought us to within 1 point with 5:37 to play in the game. But South Dakota's Tyler Larson gave the Coyotes a 6-point lead with 4:11 left, and they never looked back. They closed out Western to go to 12-15 overall, and they are 6-6 in conference. Interesting little stat. Both teams had 28 rebounds and 11 assists, but South Dakota only had 10 turnovers to Western's 12. Is there anything new to say about our basketball team, or is the criticism we cannot score still valid, which all our listeners have been hearing for the past 3 weeks now?
Man, I don't have nothing new to say. I told y'all last week what this team needs to do. They need to have open tryouts. They need to let the fellow primetime player on the mic right now get his jersey, get a few left-hand layups in there. You know, I'm like crowd participation services. You see, even if we suck when I'm on the team, I can encourage the fans to come out and we could at least have a packed house. It's like the Harlem Globetrotters. Don't nobody, remember if they win or lose. You just remember the experience. So that's what I am. I am the people's experience. That's what I
don't
provide.
think the Harlem Globetrotters have ever lost to the Generals, I think. Just an interesting little fact. I think they win every time.
Well, I think a while back they did.
They did? They did? Okay.
That's before they started, making them little, not serious games.
Yeah.
But see, look, that's not really the point right here. You see what I mean? The point is not about winning and losing for this team because that's a little bit too high for them. The point is about having a good experience, and they're not really doing that either. So I can at least help solve one of them problems.
You could help increase fan
participation, fan services. There you go.
The scoring is going up a little bit. I mean, they put up 67 at Denver, and Denver's not a bad team. And then but the defense has faltered a little bit. And that was their strong suit early in the season. They were playing teams tough in the 50s, but now it's becoming an offensive shootout, and they just can't hang in.
I got a better idea, Darius. And I'm going to bring this from the idea of a lesser-known 90s movie called Eddie. Why don't we have a good old ticket offer in which if your ticket is drawn, you get to come down if you make a free throw. Instead of becoming honorary coach, you're honorary player, and hopefully you get in and play.
So kind of like Mike. When Bow,
Yeah.
okay, we can go with that. Just call me Calvin Cambridge #2. That's what we can do then. I'm not even Darius Hawkins anymore. Calvin Cambridge #2.
You need the shoes though. Do you
Yeah,
have the
I
Michael
do,
Jordan
and
shoes
I need them to be
that were like hit by lightning or something.
Yeah, that's the part I
He wouldn't
need.
want Michael Jordan's. He'd want AIs, right?
Actually, I only play in Nikes. In my own mind, the Air Hawks. My Nike shoe is in development. We just a little delayed right now due to contractual disputes.
Well, whenever the contract gets figured out,
Yeah.
can I get the first pair? Like, is that
Well,
is that
well,
available?
you
He goes to his mom.
Oh, okay. Well, can I get the second pair? Then?
Just to make this clear, many people have
Okay.
asked for first pairs and first, the gear sweatshirts. You can't get a pair, okay? But I can't promise you the first pair just because
I mean,
previously.
I guess that's okay because I understand how long your contacts list
Yeah,
is. You got a lot of people to
yeah.
take care of.
Yeah,
But I appreciate that.
no problem. Always looking out for the people.
But yeah, I guess it's just nothing new for Western
Yeah,
basketball. We were
it's
talking about
really
this
not.
before the show. What more do we need to say other than put the ball in the hoop, really? And they struggled to do that this year.
they do.
And thank goodness we have Adams. We can talk about baseball and we can forget about
Yeah,
basketball
well,
for a while.
hopefully we can snap the 6-game winning streak. And baseball is finally underway. You guys just got back from Louisiana. So, Adam,
That's right.
tell us about how our Western Illinois baseball team is doing. And how do you think we'll look for this year, since you do have the inside information
I
as a
do.
member of the team?
I definitely do. Louisiana was kind of a learning experience. I mean, it was a fun experience for me. I mean, I got to kind of sit back and watch and how the team went from batting practice to on the field to finally game and such. So that was nice and all for me, but it was kind of something new every game that we kind of struggled in a little bit. I know we kicked off the season on Thursday with a doubleheader against Louisiana Monroe and then host Nichols State. We lost, I want to say, 6-1 or 6-2 to Louisiana Monroe. We made a couple errors, I want to say, in the middle of the game. Couldn't string any real big innings together. Nichols State was a much tougher game. Tyler Willman, our star pitcher, pitched that game, threw a nice game. I think he allowed 2 runs in the second, and we kept him to a pitch count, early in the season. They made a couple great defensive plays. I remember one down the left field line, guy just laid out and robbed our 2-hitter. So that could have been a very different game. Friday against Southern Illinois, we just didn't kind of wake up at all. I mean, it was an earlier start, but I want to say we had 20 free bases that game. We had, I want to say, 4 walked batters and then 4 hit batsmen,
Ooh,
16
geez.
walked. So, I mean, just too many free bases that game to kind of stay competitive. Last game was much better. We were down 5-2 going into the bottom of the 9th, and we battled back to score 3, went into 11, ended up losing on a walk-off. But to end on that game was it left a better taste in our mouth. We didn't want to finish on the Southern game or the other games. As far as for the rest of the season, I think we'll have a good weekend down in Evansville this week if we get those games in.
Yeah.
This crazy Midwestern weather. But we just want to get things rolling this week, because then I want to say next week we go to Indiana State, and then spring break starts. And I
Ooh.
want to say we're at Louisville, who's a top 10 program in the country. And then I want to say we are at Illinois State the next week. And
Okay.
then Butler will begin the next weekend, and that'll be at home. That'll be our first home game. So come out and support us. I think we'll be all right this year.
Yeah, we expect pretty big things from you guys. I went to a couple games last year. It's definitely a nice little stadium we got down there. When the weather is good, it's a very enjoyable experience. I think it kind of thrives on the weather. So I think if you guys get any day with good weather, you normally get a good turnout, especially if there's a softball game going on. I went to a couple where there's baseball and softball going on. They got a lot of fun events in between the two games since the stadiums are right next to each other. It's a fun atmosphere to go out to. I just kind of like going, getting a Coke and a hot dog and going between the two games and supporting you guys. So I'd definitely say if you're a student and you're listening, it's definitely worth going if the weather's good. Even if it's not, we're going to try and come out and support you guys.
All right.
But I do think it kind of hinges on the weather
Yeah.
a little bit.
Especially this winter, because if I played on the baseball team, I might have called in sick this weekend, so I don't have to go to Indiana in this cold weather and have to deal with the snow. Because you said you're hopefully going to get you're playing 3 or 4 games.
Well, it's 4 games scheduled, but Coach said that Sunday's the only one kind of in question, but I haven't checked out a forecast, so
Okay,
we'll
I've
see.
looked at the forecast. I'm gonna say you play 1 out of 4. Like, with the weather that's coming, I'm gonna say I'm not being Mr. Mean,
No.
but
No,
I'm
we
gonna
got
just
it.
I'll go with 1. 'Cause
I appreciate the ambition in this room. We have somebody like myself with hoop dreams. We have an actual baseball player here in Adam, and we have our own weatherman. That's what I'm talking about. C4 Sports provides
have-
every service possible.
Just wait till we get to the NFL when I'll come newscaster with this whole.
Are you going to go
Arizona
Walter Cronkite on us
deal.
right
No,
there?
I am not going to go Walter.
I thought
Cronkite.
I'd offer it. I was seeing if you'd take the bait, but you didn't. It's okay.
No.
I have no comment with that. I have no idea what y'all talking about
You
right
don't know
now.
who
but
Walter Cronkite
I heard
is?
that name before, but I feel like it's another reference going on here that I'm supposed to understand.
no.
I don't think
Oh.
I got the reference.
Oh, okay.
No, there's no weapons.
Oh, okay.
Just
No.
wondering if you're going to go Mr. Prestigious Newscaster.
Okay.
Oh no, I won't.
I thought we
Okay.
had something else going on there that was like, inside joke.
No.
And I was outside, and then that's why I didn't know. And I was like, oh, okay.
No, Darius, we would never leave you outside. when it was
I
good.
appreciate that. Got a little emotional. Now I'm back. All right.
All right, so yeah, Adam, anything else to add for the baseball team? Because we do. This is kind of like our own little inside interview. We have
Yes,
one
it
of the
is.
players with us,
Yeah.
24/7.
I think we were expecting better this week. We left with a bad taste in our mouth. I mean, 0-4, you never want to start the season that way. But if you think last year, listeners, if you were here last year, on the first weekend, we traveled to Little Rock and played Arkansas, and they were the #1 team in the nation. We ended up beating them one of the games.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, the season started off so well last year. So, I mean, our expectations were maybe a little too high for this weekend. You said with the weather, this week was the first time we've been able to get outside for practice.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been taking ground balls off of gym floors and fly balls, 20 feet up in the air. So to finally kind of see live ground balls and live pitches and live fly balls this week has been good. I think you'll see an impact this weekend.
Yeah, I forgot about with all the weather and being indoors, and it's completely different.
Yeah.
because-
Right.
especially when you're playing on real grass, and I mean, a fly ball is completely different 20 feet in the air than 100 feet in the air, something
Right.
like that. So I know it's completely different. I'm hoping you guys play more games. Hoping you guys get some wins. I'm hoping baseball gets to Macomb pretty soon, so we can go out and watch them and give our own reports on there and see if Adam's actually lying to us or not about the baseball team.
I would never do that.
All right, so I guess that kind of wraps up our Western sports talk. Kind of a disappointing weekend, but definitely I think things are looking up, at least for one of our 2 sports teams. And so good luck with the rest of the season. And thanks, I guess, for the little insight we got.
Yeah,
It's another
you're
C4
welcome.
exclusive.
Yes,
That's
it
all we
is.
do is we
That is
provide
what
you
we
with
do out
exclusive content. That's why we have such a ginormous fan base.
Absolutely.
But moving on, we got NFL talk, of course, which comes up next on the schedule. And what I want to start with is something that happened recently, and it has to do with the scouting combine and the draft. And, of course, the guy who cannot stay out of the headlines, Johnny Manziel. This time it's Ron Jaworski. He told a Philadelphia radio station, one of their sports talk shows, that he would not take him, meaning Johnny Manziel, in the first 3 rounds. That's my opinion. It's incomplete right now, but he has not done a whole lot to me, kind of end quote right there. He also went on to state that he's a big believer in Nick Foles, the Eagles' current starting quarterback. What do you think of Jaworski's comments? Maybe not so much he wouldn't take him, but the first 3 rounds, this is a guy who's possibly the number 1 pick in the draft. Former Heisman winner, but questions have been raised about his size, his arm strength, his attitude, and his commitment. What do you guys think about Jaworski's comments on this?
I agree with you. First 3 rounds, that seems like a big gap to me. I won't say I won't take him first overall because the other option seems to be Jadeveon Clowney, and he's not a short thing either. So it kind of surprised me how Johnny Football kind of shot up, to being number 1. Because during the season, people were talking about like mid-first round, second round. I can see that, but first 3 rounds, I mean, he's a top 3 quarterback prospect in this draft. So, I mean, I think that's a little overblown. But at the same time, Ron Jaworski knows what he's talking about. I mean, this man watches game film, and he's definitely watched more. He said he watched, this is based off of 5 games. Well, that's more than I watched Johnny Football. So, I mean, I'm not going to necessarily argue with him. I mean, you got to respect somebody, I guess, that watches the film, but that just seems like kind of a big gap to me. And it's interesting that you brought up the Nick Foles part because he was actually one of the first people I heard that was supporting Nick Foles back when even I was calling him a bum. But we're not going to get into all that because then that goes back to my Cowboys, and we're not going to talk about that right now because the season is over. I don't need those problems, so we're just going to go somebody else.
I don't know what Jaworski's talking about, honestly. I don't like to call him, stupid for saying that. It's such a big disparity.
Yeah.
I mean, some guys, Kuiper, who is Mr. Draft for ESPN, has him number 1 to the Texans. And they were going to talk to him at the Combine this week and such. There's a lot of scrutiny around him, of course, but he's a Texas kid, went to A&M. Texans would probably love to have him, although I'm not sure if O'Brien wants him to come in or if he can try to resurrect a Matt Schaub or even a Case Keenum. I respect Jaws. The guy knows what he's talking about. He's watched more game film than probably I've been alive.
Yeah.
So you pay attention to him, but to say that is a little, it's taking a shot almost.
I'm going to go with Ron Jaworski is a little bit right. I don't see Johnny Manziel as I guess I would consider if it was NBA talk, it would be a lottery pick.
Okay.
I wouldn't see him in the first 10, 12.
Okay.
Because even when Cam Newton came out, I can't believe I'm making this comparison right now. You saw his game change. Johnny Manziel's going to have to do even more of that. I've watched maybe as many games as Ron Jaworski, not all the way through, and probably haven't had the film to replay and look at it. But when I see replays of, especially right now, of Johnny Manziel, he has his arm down away from his body when he's making runs. You're not going to be able to do that in the NFL. And that's going to take big habits, because Tim Tebow had that problem of bringing his arm way too far back, too big of a release, and that took forever to see where Tebow is now, not playing at all. So I want to take a risk on Manziel early on, but if you want to move up with somebody that has an established and maybe get a second first-round draft, I would, but, they're going to do what they want to, and I think some teams, especially in the beginning, are going to think of putting butts in the seats.
Yeah,
and they're going to pick, especially Texas, because even though they got a great fan base, they're going to even put more tickets, and they're going to get more money coming towards them. And even Jacksonville will get butts in the seats if they get Manziel. So I would not say he is. I would say mid-first rounder and back, but nobody would take him in the second half of the first round anyway, because they got established quarterbacks anyway. So I'd say second round at the earliest I would pick him, and that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think, I got 2 parts to this. The second part will lead us into our next talking point, but the first part is I think Jaworski is wrong. He does know what he's talking about, but I think he's wrong for this fact, because like what Darius said, the big disparity in between that I think is kind of crazy. He is talent. He does have a lot of issues. He's got pretty horrible form. like you guys have mentioned. Not just with the way he holds the ball, but the way he throws it. I don't like how he throws the ball at all, which is a big problem I have about Jay Cutler, but we're not going to go there either. The plays he makes, this is a positive and a negative for him. He has the positive where he has that intangible thing, which is why he won the Heisman, I think, because he has that big play capability. When I was debating Johnny Manziel with some of my family over winter break, who I guess I could say they were hating on him, and I'm not the biggest fan, but I was kind of defending him, as he's the one guy in college football I've seen that can make something out of nothing. He's got that kind of like intangible thing that you can't put your finger on. That just look at his highlight reel, the Heisman moments from the past 2 years. The year before against Alabama, where everybody thought he was down, and he spun around, did the little 360, get out of the pocket, and throw the ball. Nobody else in football can make that play. Or even this year in the game the bowl game against Duke, where he ran and like did that little jump. I don't know what he was doing, but he jumped into his own offensive lineman, then scrambled and threw the touchdown pass.
But he's not going to be able to do
that's
that.
That's what I was getting to. Is that I don't know if he'll be able to do that in the NFL. Not questioning his skill, but questioning his opposition, where everybody is ginormous and incredibly fast. You saw Jadeveon Clowney's 40-yard dash speed. That's kind of I don't want to say your average defensive lineman, but they're coming in hot, definitely hotter than some of those Big 12 defensive lines he was facing and what he ended up eating up in college football. So I don't know if he's going to be able to duplicate that success, and I think that's what's kind of set him apart, because like I said, his throwing strength is in question, his technique is poor, but what made him special was that athleticism and ability to run backwards 20 yards and then throw a 50-yard touchdown after running around and losing 20 yards, and he's not going to get away with that in the NFL. I remember watching those games and being like, yeah, he's not getting away with that in the NFL. So I think Jaworski is wrong. I don't see him dropping to the third round. I like what you said, Ryan, about him dropping to the second round because of the second half first-round teams have quarterbacks. But this brings us into our next talking point, which is the second point I wanted to make, was about the draft. Specifically, who are your sleepers or surprise picks? For me, my surprise pick is I do think he will go 1 because of the questions around Clowney, and also because of this. He'll sell more jerseys, I feel, Will Manziel, because he's a Texas kid, and the Texans have the number 1 pick, so they want that. And also, they need the quarterback. Last year, the focus on the Texans was on Matt Schaub and his struggles. Fair or not, that's what the focus was on. So the fans, I think they've made it known to the front office that they want a quarterback, they want a franchise guy, and who better to pick there than Manziel? People are saying he hit or miss. He could be Drew Brees or a bust. Right. So I think they're going to take the chance on him. That's kind of my bold prediction. Is I don't think he deserves to go first overall, but I kind of think he will because of the Texas connection and the fact they need a quarterback more than they need a defensive lineman.
Yeah, I don't think it's any way you can throw Matt Schaub back out there.
Yeah,
because I remember he had fans coming to his house this year and all that. So I mean, Houston doesn't want him, anywhere around there. I don't necessarily have a bold prediction, but I think that this kind of goes back to me to a draft that happened, some years back when Reggie Bush and all them came out. Remember, Houston had the number 1 pick.
They got Mario
and they took Mario Williams. But remember, Vince Young, Texas quarterback, was a Houston native. And people were talking about maybe they should take him, and they didn't do it. Now, I'm not going to say maybe, that wasn't necessarily a smart move. Because he had a few nice years, but, he kind of fizzled out. But it's kind of interesting. I mean, Houston, they have to take a quarterback within the first 2 rounds. So if you take Clowney number 1, then I would guess that, I don't necessarily know the order. Jacksonville's going to have to take a quarterback. Mm-hmm. And the 3 that we know of is what? Blake Bortles. We know Teddy Bridgewater. Aaron Murray.
Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't heard really anybody talk about it. I heard that it's 3 top prospects. Yeah. So, I would figure those 3 would be gone by the time Houston's second pick comes around.
They'd probably have to trade up, I would think, if they take Clowney or somebody else.
Maybe Aaron Murray's, you said from Georgia, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's he has all the passing records now in the SEC, but I believe he got injured, I want to say, at the end of the year.
ACL, yeah.
So that's the question mark with him.
Bold prediction, I think that Blake Bortles might be a bust.
Really?
And this is the reason I'm going to say this. I don't like when during the draft process, and this happens in every sport. It happens in basketball every year. It's a guy who you don't never hear of during the season. I never heard of this dude. Then all of a sudden workouts come, and all of a sudden, he's one of the top prospects. If he's so top, how come we didn't see none of his highlights when the season was going on? Yeah. I never heard of this dude until after all the college football games was over. And everybody's talking about Blake Bortles. I feel like because they was talking about, what's the name? David Carr's brother from Fresno State.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Derek Carr. I thought he was supposed to be one of the top prospects, and people don't talk about him anymore. So I don't really know what be going on with all that. I feel like if you're so good of a prospect, I should know your name when you're actually playing. So I'm just gonna say he's a bust just because I don't even got nothing against him. Just history wise, he's just gonna be a bust. There you go.
I'll kind of go against you a little bit on the Bortles thing. I watched a couple of UCF's games this season. I watched when they knocked off Louisville, and when everybody thought, and I thought, and we all probably thought Louisville was going to go undefeated in that American Conference and maybe, play for it all. Bortles did enough. He outplayed Bridgewater in that game, so that might boost him over Bridgewater. And I don't like to do this because who cares? I mean, Jamarcus Russell could throw a ball 70 yards on his knees.
Very true.
The measurables kind of scare me off a little bit, but Bortles is 6'5".
Okay.
He's got, 230 for poundage, and that's more than Manziel. That's more than Bridgewater. So, I mean, he might be the one that, after all is said and done in this draft, you look back, and he's the one that kind of, survived, had a career over 8 years or something. As far as surprises, I think you pick Clowney number one if you're the Texans. I think he's a once-in-a-decade talent.
Yeah.
I mean, just freak of nature stuff. I've heard comparisons with, like, Reggie White, Bruce Smith with the wingspan. I mean, the guy's got just unreal hands and unreal footwork. The question is, does he want to be there? And he's in the NFL now. I mean, this is where he always wanted to be.
Yeah.
So his work ethic will come into question, and we'll see, I guess, if that plays out. As far as a sleeper pick, I'll kind of go with the Packers on this one. I think the corners in this class are really deep, if you looked at them. They went last on the combine day as far as workouts, 40s, on-field drills, broad jump, vertical. And I think the kid out of Michigan State, Darqueze Dennard, is going to be a really good one. He had a great season at Michigan State. He was a leader of that great defense. I hope he really falls into the 20s to the Packers, honestly.
Even though I said that Manziel deserves, to me, is a second-round draft pick, he will go number one since he is in Texas. If it was another team in the first slot, it would be different. Clowney, I think, will go 2, which is to St. Louis, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Because of Washington.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you, Washington, because guess whose defense is going to get a whole heck of a lot better.
And it's already good.
And it's already good.
Yeah.
And you add Clowney to there, it's going to get even better.
Yeah.
But they need to shore up the offense. So, but there's not a draft pick that they need help with that I would waste the second pick on.
Right.
The player that I would be surprised with would probably be the starting quarterback from Eastern Illinois. I heard he got a lot of good, his name slips my mind right now, but he got a lot of good vibes coming off the combine because he participated in everything. So I could see him maybe not being a Russell Wilson, but being maybe one of those backup quarterbacks that's going to help out later on.
Matt Flynn almost?
Like a Matt Flynn,
Yeah.
but maybe a little bit better.
Okay.
Bill Polian had, I just heard him say earlier this week, he think he might go in the first round.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's who I heard it from, was Polian.
Okay.
Yeah.
And people were going like, if Polian's going to say this, then you better listen to him because he's up there pretty well with Jaworski when you're talking about players. I guess the other one will have to be Michael Sam because you've heard. I think he's probably going to be the most after the first couple picks. It doesn't matter. It's going to be where he goes.
Yeah.
And I think that's where everybody's going to pay attention to, either not being drafted, because Darius, you heard stories that he might not even be drafted.
Yeah.
I don't see that. There's a lot of rounds in the draft, so I don't see that happening. I just want to see the right team, and I think that's going to probably be the surprise of it. And if it goes to a wrong team, I feel sorry for him.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to watch. For me, my sleeper pick is I think Aaron Murray will be the best quarterback from this draft class. I've said it all year. I'm a big fan of him because I think he's got I call it the Andrew Luck status, where Luck was prepared to come out of college because he ran the pro-style offense. That's what Aaron Murray does. Saying Johnny Manziel has poor poor form, I think Murray's got great form. I love the way he plays. I love the way he throws. And he's got a ton of the passing records out of the SEC, which has been, other than they say the only conferences that matter is the NFC, AFC, and SEC. That was the recruiting spiel I heard when I went with my brother to visit Vanderbilt a few years ago. That was apparently the spiel the SEC gives. And he's got all the records coming out of there. Not A.J. McCarron or Tim Tebow or anybody like that. It's Aaron Murray. And obviously the question is if he recovers from that injury. I think he will, and I've really liked what I've seen. I think he's going to end up being the best quarterback out of all of them. I said it for a very long time. That's what I said the Bears should do, is trade Cutler, trade up and try and get Aaron Murray, because I think he'd fit very well in the Bears system, though they're clearly not going to do that now. But that's what I was telling all my friends and family back home who are all Bears fans.
I actually agree with Adam. I want to go back around to what he said. I agree. I feel like Clowney should go first because when you are a physical specimen, I understand people say his work ethic may not be the best, but y'all know I correlate everything to basketball. Shaq didn't have the best work ethic either, or the best motor. But the fact that he was just a physical specimen and bigger than everybody, it helped him, on the court. You can't replace speed. The speed that Jadeveon Clowney has, you can't train like that. Work ethic, you can, over time, you put him around leaders, veterans. That's something that can be improved on. Putting him on the other side of J.J. Watt, that's dangerous for Houston. And their defense wasn't even a problem last year. No. So that might be the reason why they don't take him, because their defense really didn't struggle. But I feel like that's probably the safest pick here. And I'm also interested to see where two wide receivers go. Sammy Watkins from Clemson and Mike Evans. Y'all know I was liking Mike Evans, especially after that Alabama game. A big wide receiver. I'm really interested to see where they go. I would say I'm interested to see what my Cowboys do, but we'll probably end up taking like an offensive lineman or something, I don't know really any of them. We need defensive players. And besides Clowney, there's not really too many defensive guys that I know in this draft, because I'm not going to front. I don't care about college football, really. So, I don't know too many of these dudes unless they're big names. But whatever goes on in Dallas, I hope that we just get the right players. I don't even know what that means, who it is, but get people that's going to help us. Because last time we had to pick this high, we picked freaking Mo Claiborne, and he hasn't done anything since he got to the league except get hurt every 3 games. So we need players that's actually going to play this year and produce.
That's pretty interesting insight. There he is. I enjoyed that.
I got one more receiver for you that might be a surprise this year. Marquise Lee. He came out last year. He could have been a top 10 pick. He came back. He dealt with some injuries early. When he was healthy or on the field, at least, he was at 70%. And still he was putting up 10 catches, 100 yards with USC's less than stellar offense this year.
And their coaching troubles as well.
Yeah, such a turbulent season there. And also, I'll go a little Big Ten in my school favoritism. Wisconsin linebacker Chris Borland, undersized kid. A lot of people compare him to Luke Kuechly.
Okay.
As far as a tackling machine, he's smart, instinctual, 4-year starter at Wisconsin. So those are 2 players that could have long careers and big impacts in the NFL.
And I'm glad you brought up Marquise Lee, because I think if I'm going to say Aaron Murray's the best quarterback, I think Lee will be the best wideout from this draft class. I like everything I've seen from him, even though I do think this is a deep class for wide receivers as well. I think that's something that hasn't been talked about. We will have much more draft coverage as the draft approaches. Isn't it pushed back to May? It used to be in April. Now it got pushed back to May. Yeah. So for the rest of this semester, if anything interesting happens according to the draft, we are here to break it to you and debate it like nobody else can. Not even those fools on ESPN. We top all of them.
Well, because we actually speak the truth, because we know we're not going to be fired.
Yeah,
basically.
If this is being put in a future resume for ESPN, I redact those statements.
I'm about to say that was Matt Langman who said that. That was not Darius Hawkins. He had no idea that was even going on. Matter of fact, he wasn't even on that episode.
Yeah, I'm editing that out. I'm stealing all these files from you, Darius. I'm editing that out. But we're going to keep it NFL. We actually got a decent amount to talk about for the NFL. These all kind of correlate to each other real quick. The first one is the Arizona Super Bowl Committee coming out, and we might not see the 2015 Super Bowl in Arizona if the Religious Rights Bill, as I believe it is called, is passed in the state of Arizona, which would allow businesses the right to deny, gay people services on the behalf of their religious beliefs, whether it be, Christianity, Judaism, or Islam are the big the big ones on there, especially Christianity, since that is the most popular in the area. And right here it says, call it what you want, anti-gay or religious rights. That's not what we're debating.
Right.
I guess we're going to look at what do you guys think about it? Because it does, well, I mean, I said we're not going to debate it, but it does kind of seem like it's an excuse for discrimination. And the NFL, I guess, is making a stand against that, saying if it passes, there's a very good chance the Super Bowl in 2015 will not be in Arizona. This is kind of the first of the image problems we're going to be looking at for the NFL real quick.
Yeah, every time we talk about, the whole gay and sports subject, which seems to be almost every week, y'all know I always start off by saying, I am a Christian, believe in Jesus Christ, everything like that. These people, whoever's behind this bill, they're idiots. This is completely stupid. You're not going to serve people because they're gay? Like, what does that have to do with business? I thought businesses, first of all, the only thing that matters about business is green, and that is the color of the dollar. If you helping me make some money, then we all good. I can understand, like, I want to say it's all green, but we know people like Chick-fil-A, like, open on Sundays because of, I can respect that. But this is stupid. And I am 100% behind the NFL saying, you know what, if this is how you want to be, that's fine. We're not going to associate ourselves, with this whole thing. Because the NFL did the same thing. It's something about Arizona or something around that area, Phoenix or whatever it is, because they were like the last state to pass the, Martin Luther King Day as a holiday. And
they also had the search green card thing.
Yeah,
for illegal
exactly.
They still
immigration.
have that.
Yeah.
Which surprisingly nobody backed out of sports for that one. Which we see how I guess people care about Latinos or whatever. So but with the whole Martin Luther King's Day thing, they took the Super Bowl away from from Arizona that time. So I'm 100%, like I said, behind the NFL. I believe the NBA said something too. That you can't support discrimination just because we talked about last week. Ryan, you said the belief is you hate the sin but not the sinner. Yeah. That's what it should. That's just how it should be. If people want to spend their money to support your business, then let them spend that money. Like, why are you hurting your own business? I don't know who came up with this bill. I don't know who's voting on the bill. I don't know. Sometimes I really wonder what's going on with Phoenix or whatever.
Well,
they got nice
their
weather.
excuse
but
for the bill, just a quick, I guess, political insight was there are a couple of reports, I think they came out of Arizona, where it had to do with gay marriage, where there was a photographer who refused to photograph a gay couple's wedding, and they got sued over that, and they're trying to protect, I guess, businesses' religious rights, where they were trying to quote their dedication to the Bible. And the big one which sparked this was Arizona business. They're a bakery, and they bake wedding cakes, and they refuse to bake a cake because they're religious based. They refused to bake a cake for a gay couple's wedding, and then they were being sued by the gay couple. So their excuse is for that, to protect the people who, I guess, companies who base their companies on religion. It's kind of to protect them from being sued.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what it comes back to is it does promote discrimination. That's just the devil's advocate. That's what they're saying.
I'm about to say then that makes the discussion a little tougher, because I can understand if you're a religious based thing, you're not going to support something that doesn't follow your religion. But to make it just a mass law that we're not going to, that gay people can't be served, that's different than you're owning you're a singularity.
That's not the law where they can't serve them. It's the law. That's what the law is in.
That's what I'm saying. That's what the new law. Yeah,
okay. It's to protect the people who say, like, I refuse to serve somebody who is gay, and the gay person sues me. It's to protect me from being sued. That's what the law is for.
Okay, well, wow, that's a whole different conversation. That this really is not the forum for us. I'm gonna let y'all go ahead then, because that's a whole different thing there. Because that's the other side. That makes it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought, and I think that's where this whole thing's getting away from. It's an anti-gay.
Yeah.
It's helping businesses not to be sued. And nowadays, everybody wants to sue everybody. Just look at everything. McDonald's gets getting sued because somebody had a heart attack, but you eat there 5 times a week. So it's preventing them being sued, but people are taking it that it's an anti-gay, and it is preventing businesses. And I think they're going around the law. I think the law is right in their own sense too. I think the media has gone away to say that they haven't even looked at the business side. They're thinking of the people's rights, but they're not looking at the religious businesses and all that stuff. And they haven't even looked at how are you going to tell that if a couple comes into your restaurant and they're gay. I mean, two guys that come in and their friends are going to sit down. Are they going to refuse service? I think they need to step back and realize that it's good and bad rule. The NFL, there's so many people that are saying veto it, but the governor has had this on her table for, I think, 3 days, and she has till this weekend, or it automatically goes to it. I think she's just going to let it go by and not even try to voice her opinion, and it automatically becomes a law. If it's been on there and she's getting this much heat already.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's not a sports story, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think people just need to realize that this is trying to help businesses not be sued by what Matt has said about businesses. Business says no. That's why with the whole and healthcare thing and all that stuff, it's religious and it's Catholics because they have priorities and all that stuff. I think, like I said, the law is right. The media has taken it to the thing that they've focused solely on gay rights and haven't been focused on the business side of it. And NFL maybe needs to take a look at that. Take a look at it, because to me, I'm okay with the law, and I even, like I said last week and all that stuff, hate the sin, love the sinner. They just need to look at both sides, and the media is the first one to react to one side, especially right now with all states coming with gay marriage. They're not even looking at the other side of businesses. So this could prevent the NFL from being sued.
Yeah, I'm actually, I don't mean to interrupt you, and I know, Adam, you haven't gone yet, but I'm happy that you cleared that up, because what I only heard was from the media side of it. I didn't actually do my own research, which is ignorant of me, but I mean, it is what it is. Oh, well. I didn't do my own research into what the law really was, and so I was taking it from what I heard.
Yeah.
See, really what I was doing was I was teaching you youth out there that you got to do your own research. See, this is all a scheme just to be teaching, because I'm the people's teacher. That's all this was. But I'm happy I'm not the only one on this mic, so we could get a clear understanding of what this law was, because that changes up basically everything that I said just when I just went the first time.
You kind of said it all, Ryan. I mean, basically, it'll be interesting here. I have one kind of main point. I'll keep it short and sweet. It'll be interesting to kind of see if government and the NFL collide a little bit, because the NFL is absolutely huge today. The NFL is so well liked. It's like 6 times more liked than Congress, or just something stupid like that. So, I don't think the Super Bowl will be moved. I mean, it's such a big event.
Yeah.
I think the U.S. would probably consider making the Monday after Super Bowl Sunday a holiday before the Super Bowl gets moved.
Yeah, I think so.
I just think there's no way, and we'll see how it turns out. It'll be interesting. This is the first time I'm hearing about this.
Yeah, for me personally, I guess I just disagree with the bill. I'm going to try and focus on mainly the football aspect of it, but I kind of disagree with it because from my understanding, I've read a few articles on it. I kind of wrote a paper about it, and I like to try and stay informed. I try and watch the news every day. But to me, it's just too much hearsay where all you have to do is kind of, quote, devote religious beliefs. What does that even mean? And you can get out of basically discriminating against somebody. So, and I'm a conservative too, and I'm saying that as a conservative. But at least for the football aspect of it, I guess it depends on which side of the fence you're on, but I guess I applaud the NFL in a way for taking a stance on this, but at the same time, I don't know if it's necessarily the NFL's place to kind of do that, because what if there are athletes, like you said, who do support this? Because we know a lot of them always quote Jesus and quote the Bible and thank God, so if there are a lot that kind of support this, who's the NFL to say that they're wrong? This is ultimately an opinion thing, one way or the other, and I don't know how I ever felt about I respect athletes if they give their political opinion, since I do think it helps. I think the country, more people need to vote, more people need to be involved in politics. People, especially our age, need to care less about what Miley Cyrus is wearing or, who is Katy Perry dating. They need to know that less and know more who their congressman is. They need to know more about political stuff, what's going on in the world. So I always respected athletes for coming out and supporting politics and social issues like that. But for one league to make a statement on as the sum up of the whole, I kind of disagree with. So I kind of don't really like this in a way, and
because you're saying sports is more
yeah.
important. And we're talking from the outside. I would love to hear some people
Yeah.
from Arizona what they're thinking.
Or even some athletes from the NFL.
Yeah,
what they have to
from
say.
Arizona, Larry
Yeah.
Fitzgerald. Please come out and say something, please, because you're gonna be affected by this more than us, and we want to know because we're just hearing one side of the story,
Yeah.
and the second side's not even being heard right now.
So yeah, that's a good point.
I guess next week we'll have a final tell of it because we'll know this weekend if it passes and see what happens afterwards. Like you said, I don't see anything coming. I think NFL just needs to step back.
Yeah.
Arizona is going to make you a lot of money no matter what because guess what? And that's I forget what the state they call that stadium out there.
I think it's University of Phoenix. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have much there unless it's a couple football games, a college football game where the Tostitos
The Coyotes are right across the street. The hockey
but just
team.
that stadium.
Yeah. Oh, the stadium itself. Okay.
It doesn't get much play
Yeah.
unless WWE is going to come in there for WrestleMania once in a while and make a lot of money. So that stadium stays empty unless you're going to have other conferences there or whatever. So stuff needs to be settled out. I think NFL needs to take a step back, and they're just thinking about the money aspect of it.
Yeah.
They're not even thinking about how that affects their businesses. They come in once every 5 years.
Well, this kind of is the first of two subjects we have debating the NFL, and it's kind of undergoing an image problem. Obviously, the Ray Rice, Darren Sharper things. But the one I kind of want to talk about right now, which you guys brought up before the show, is the N-word, the controversial word that's been in the media a lot recently, especially with sports. And apparently, I believe the rule is every time the officials hear it, you get flagged 15 yards, I believe. You cannot use it at all on the field.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to hear what your guys' take on this. Do you think it's a good rule, a bad rule, or just a kind of an unforceable rule that you really couldn't implement well?
I think it's going to be hard to. I think you're going to see a lot of yellow flags on the field. I know it happens by what I've heard. They even had a whole outside the lines.
Yeah, I wanted to see that. I
episode.
wasn't able to. I
Yeah, I wasn't
saw a
able
little
to
bit of
either.
it. And Michael Wilbon stole the show there, just speaking his mind. There's other ways to get the N-word off of the field. And it comes to the players. Don't, and this is not me saying this, I'm going to paraphrase what Michael Wilbon says. It's just like, don't have white owners, white commissioners, basically white officials. You have some black officials. Don't have them tell the NFL how to or how not to use the N-word. I think that's where it steps. I think the players need to say, goes like, we need to be more professional, and there's other ways to get away.
Yeah.
Fine them if you know who, especially the player is. Fine them if you hear them because they've got the game. They have the film. Why do
Yeah.
you think they block out the sound after each play down there? Because they know it's going on. I don't think penalties is the right way to go. Like I said, you're going to see a lot of yellow flags. And is there a certain amount then the team gets fined? I don't get it. I think it's just a stupid rule. Just leave it alone. There's already too many penalties nowadays in games anyway.
I'm fine with this. I mean, I'm totally against that word. There's no place for it in society, let alone football or any other sport. But like you said, it's unenforceable, basically. I mean, we don't know it, but it's safe to say with the whole Dolphins scandal this season that it goes on the field, it goes on in the locker room. So it's just going to be really hard, and I'm fine with the flag every time someone hears it, and hopefully that'll kind of drop it a little bit and eliminate it way over time, but I'm not sure if it'll ever be eliminated, and it's sad.
I think this thing is completely stupid. First of all, it is unforceable. You can't, there's no way that, what if you accidentally think you hear somebody say, can you take the penalty back or something? But the rule is stupid. I'm happy you brought up Mike Wilbon because I love when Wilbon talks about this. And it's something that I personally feel, especially going with the NBA and the dress code. I don't like how white dudes, corporate America, and high-power suits try to police black people. Like, why can't we just police ourselves? I don't see black people over here making the rules for white people. They make their own rules. Why can't we make ours? But I mean, that's a whole different conversation. This is stupid. I don't understand why the word has to be punished. When we look at the two scenarios over the past year that have struggled with the NFL, it's been white people saying the word. It hasn't been black people saying the word to each other. And when does the NFL decide to start doing racial slurs? The Redskins are still a team name last time I checked. So, I mean, are we just choosing it's the words that black people use as part of a culture? When black people use with one another, it's not something that we use to demean, you know, like what I'm saying. It's part of a culture. When somebody says it, it's usually like affection, like you my guy, you know what I'm saying? But all of a sudden now it's a problem. But when we, like I said, when we talk about the Redskins, I guess that's just, that's fine. You know, even though there's Native American groups that have come out and said that this is offensive, but we're going to keep that. I haven't heard one black person come against the NFL and say, you know what, I'm tired of the use of this word. I haven't heard that in sports, period. But I've heard people in sports now say, you know, okay, well, we should get rid of the word. Well, then make that something that you stop using then. But I mean, it's still going to be around. If NFL doesn't use it, it's still going to be in basketball. It's still going to be in rap. And there's another thing I look at it is this way. As y'all know, I got big-time basketball hoop dreams. During the summer, I play basketball almost every day. Regular conversation, I don't curse. I don't curse at all. I just don't do it. I just don't like it. But on the court, I do curse. And the reason why is it's not something that I'm conscious of. You know, when I'm playing, I'm not thinking of, let me, you know, think about what I'm saying first. And my goal is to, you know, try and win a game. And so you think in the NFL, these dudes are always going to be thinking about what they're saying? You're playing, and your words are not always the first thought. So what happens when, let's say even if somebody who doesn't use the word, they go ahead and say it. You know, this is popped in my head. Fourth quarter of a big game is fourth down, and you accidentally say the word. Think about just how big of just a news story that's going to be all over sports. Oh, your team lost the game. Could you use the N-word? Y'all got a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. The NFL needs to just back off this. This is not an issue that really is for them to fight. We talked about the last one, you know, that it's kind of, you know, the NFL might be doing too much. They're really doing too much with this one. They need to stay back.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a bad rule, so you can say the F word, but you can't say the N word, basically. I just think cut the audio from the TV broadcast. That's all you need to do. Right. And when it comes to this, I agree. I don't think it's a good word. I kind of think, once again, not to get into a huge political debate, I think it's holding back, I guess, society. I don't want to say society in a way, but it's kind of holding back. Everybody wants to talk about equality and stuff. I think it's something that promotes differences rather than equalities. I think the way it's going to go away, I agree. I'm a big Mike Wilbon fan. He's a fellow Chicago guy. Yeah. I love everything he seems to say. Seems to be really smart. And I kind of agree with what you just quoted from him. I'd like to see the discussion. I really wanted to see the OTL report.
No, you could probably, find it. I gained more respect for Wilbon each time I hear him talk.
Yeah, I really wanted to see it because it's a very interesting subject. I think it goes back to really the black community. It's got to be accepted and deterred by them before you could see it anywhere else.
Exactly.
And specifically, if we're going to talk football, it's got to be from the players. It's got to be the leadership of the organization or just the leadership of the players, the opposite of a Richie Incognito, a guy who's going to be like, yeah, we're not going to tolerate that stuff.
Exactly.
Like, we're going to act like professionals. We're going to act like, I guess, grown men in a way. So I think that's where it starts. But really, for me, it kind of came down to that. You can't say the F word, or you can say the F word on the field, but you can't say the N word. And that's a really good point, too, that you brought up, Darius, that, if it's 4th and goal and you're going to cost your team the game by saying a word, I think that's dumb. And, two, I once again agree with you said when I don't swear too much unless I'm kind of joking around with friends, but when I'm on the court, my girlfriend says, too, I'm a different person. She doesn't like me when I play basketball or football because I'm super competitive. And even if it's just like we had an intramural game Monday and we lost and I was super depressed, swearing all the time. I was out there yelling, swearing at my teammates. And she's like, you're a different person when you play football or basketball. I'm like, I want to win and I always want to win. Well, it's not even the fact I want to win. I hate losing. That's what I can't stand it. So I agree. I don't think it's a good rule. And once again, the NFL, they've got to do less political, I think, activism and try and control their own guys, but not in a way like this. I think it's something you can't enforce, ultimately.
Yeah. Not at all.
But I think before we go to our first break, since we're just about to hit 1 hour, we had a lot of good NFL talk. Do you guys think the NFL has an image problem?
Yes. They have a huge image problem. And it hasn't, and it's been around for a while, and it's even getting worse and worse. The whole your Dallas, and an Illini player even did it. The DUI that killed his teammate.
Yeah, Josh
and
Brent.
And then he had the nerve to be on the field that next Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
even though he was suspended, and that the organization didn't know. You also are dealing with Darren Sharper,
Yeah.
who has cases. I guess it's still sketchy on how many states he's reported to have raped women. 3 or 4, I heard. I think you guys heard a couple other numbers of states. Ray Rice, and that's been going on for a while. Being up, you have the Kansas City Chiefs player that killed his wife and then committed murder, killed himself. I think there is an image problem, and if you want to go on and say that you're all and powerful and start sticking your nose into political things, you need to take a step back because you have an image problem. And I'm gonna throw the other PTI guy out there now, Tony Kornheiser, who I like also.
Yep.
That he said goes like, so you guys are going to debate if you're going to have Michael Sam in the NFL as being a gay athlete, but you're okay with a DUI killer, wife beaters. You're going to be okay with people like that, even murderers coming with Hernandez.
Yeah.
You're going to be okay with them being in your organization, just slapping them on the wrist and saying, all right, go out and make us some more money. But you're going to debate if you're going to have a gay athlete in there. No wonder why it takes so long for gay athletes to get into the major sports. There's an image problem. Roger Goodell needs to take his $49 million he made this year and focus on that before he wants to get a team in L.A. or London. He needs to work on the image because I hate what the image looks like. You see the bright, polished ones on Sunday, but when it comes not on Sunday, it gets destroyed, but it stays around for a couple days. Then another Sunday hits, and then it gets washed away.
No, I'm glad you brought up Goodell because he's kind of in his reign. He was that disciplinary guy who really cracked down in his first couple of years, but now he's gotten a little lenient a bit. And I do believe the NFL is an image problem. I think the NFL has grown so huge that it likes to just show off their games and fancy NFL Network and ESPN and all these places with, gosh, these guys are amazing athletes and they should get more money and such like that. But it's a dirty game right now, I think, with all the concussion talk and the wife beaters, the murders, everything you said, Ryan. That needs to be cleaned up. And Roger Goodell, you're probably not listening. I don't know if he is. No,
Darius has got that.
I think he's on vacation right now. You know, they just had the combine. He's taking a day off.
Yeah. Anyways, one piece of advice for him. One sport in professional sports in America right now that is doing great is the NBA. David Stern left that game with...
Yeah.
It's awesome right now. Popularity is growing. The players are growing. They're not getting in as much trouble as they were early back in the 2000s, a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Go have a talk with David Stern and see what he can do. I mean, it would probably be an enlightening experience for him.
I'm happy you brought up the NBA because that's where I was going to go with this. The NBA, like you said, has definitely become almost it's very rare almost that you hear, a story of problems in the NBA. And the NFL does have an image problem. But still, the NFL is more popular. But still, when you look at America as a whole, not necessarily people who look at it like we do, who are sports fans, but people who are outside just looking in, they'll say that the NBA is filled more with thugs. Just think about that for a minute. Why is it that the NFL makes almost double the money, has double the popularity, but has more image problems? Y'all know why that is, don't you? I'm going to tell you why it is. Because the NBA has one thing that the NFL doesn't. Black faces of the league. NFL, when you think of the faces of the league, it's quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. Good dudes, you don't hear no problems out of them.
You hear Adrian Peterson even. He's the guy who...
Right, Adrian Peterson every now and then. And then when you heard Adrian Peterson, remember he had the whole story with his son had died. But then he didn't even know his son. All that came after. Who's the faces of the NBA? LeBron James, Kevin Durant. Never have, just like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, they have never had any legal issues at all. but yet the NBA is still a league full of thugs.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, I'm glad that you both brought that up because that's where I was going to go as well. Because I think in response to your question, it's just ignorance. People who are ignorant, or maybe I don't want to go out and call these people racist, but
Yeah, I wouldn't
maybe,
either. They're just ignorant. That's
yeah,
what it is.
I think too. It's people are quick to judge, quick to stereotype, and they
Absolutely.
see the problem with the problem and the good thing about the NBA is because these guys, they don't wear a helmet, they don't wear a cap, even they don't even wear a hat. As you see their face, and they're wearing tank tops, so you see the arms. You see the J.R. Smith,
Yeah.
who is literally covered in tattoos. Even LeBron, he's got full sleeves. I think full bodies now. He's gotten almost his whole canvas covered.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And these are some of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Like LeBron, I saw today, bought his entire team
Yeah.
WWE Championship
Championship
belts,
belt,
which
yeah.
I thought was pretty cool. He's always on Instagram, like posting about his mother. Same with Durant. Durant's really involved with his mom. You see all these guys. You don't hear too many stories. I mean, we're going to get to it in a second when we talk NBA at the other side of this quick break.
Yeah.
But you get the occasional Raymond Felton, I guess Gilbert Arenas thing.
Exactly.
But I mean, nobody's perfect, and I applaud David Stern. A lot of, I don't want to call them ignorant basketball fans, but they kind of harp on David Stern. It's always popular to hate the commissioner, hate the guy in
Yeah,
charge.
it
But
is.
I really like what Stern did, specifically in the 80s and 90s. Well, that's a different conversation for a different time. I do think the NFL has an image problem. It's a little bit overblown, but I don't think it necessarily goes with the NFL. I think it goes to elementary school and also especially college. I think these are kids who are never told no. They get anything they want. In high school, they're passing through their classes because they're good at sports. Like I heard a couple stories where a kid went to Auburn, I believe it was, and this was the early 2000s. One of my kind of older friends told me when he was in high school, and he would not. He did track. The coach didn't care if he practiced or not. He'd hop. What he did for practice, he'd come an hour late, hop over the fence, run sprints for 20 minutes, and leave while the rest of the kids practiced for like 3 hours. And they didn't care. He'd show up, win every event because he was a freak in nature. And it doesn't matter who you are. All these kids are catered to. They never hear the word no. They get everything they want. It's even worse, I think, in college, to a way, because they're taking, a lot of them, especially the ones who go on to be prominent athletes in the NFL, they're taking, women's history or just, like you said earlier before the show, Ryan, all 100 level classes. They're all 2 years of school. And then I just think I don't want to call them spoiled, but they're immature in a way. They don't have, I think it's kind of character building where you have to work for what you get. I'm not saying they don't work on the field, but off the field they haven't had to work at all. At least a lot of them, not to sum them all up.
And that's when I see the story, the ESPN 30 for 30 broke.
Yeah.
I really sometimes don't feel sorry for him because they should have been taught that by the NFL or by their family or anybody that would tell them. That's why I'm glad they're doing it. But I really don't feel sorry for him because when you become a pro, I think you need to be professional and you need to step up and be a man. And you're not going to get everything. Your NFL career could be done after 2 years, and you need to have something for a back plan. And most of them don't.
I understand what you're saying with that, and I agree. I don't necessarily feel all the way sorry for him. That 30 for 30 was great, by the way. That's one of my favorite ones. But you said that they have to become professional and be a man. When they get money, it's not like all of a sudden you like maturity. Just like, you get a fairy tale and then you just magically mature. And you mentioned their families. A lot of these guys, they come from neighborhoods that, who are they learning from? Their families are begging them for money all the time once they make it. And then, I don't feel sorry for them because they do get involved with dumb businesses that they should do more research on. So it is partly their fault. And also, a lot of them are too ignorant to listen. Like you said, the NFL talks to them. The NBA talks to
Herm
them.
Edwards does.
Yes.
If you cannot listen to Herm Edwards,
Right.
he is a great speaker. If you cannot listen to him and take it to heart, then you are dumb and you deserve not to have any money left. Because he can motivate you to do anything. He would be a great preacher on TV and have you send him money because a lot of people probably would.
For some holy water.
He is that good of a speaker. And if you can't listen to these high people that's been in position and seen players that's gone through this.
Well, for me, it's the Latrell Sprewell effect because before he was forced into retirement, he said I think it was something like $48 million over 5 years was not enough money to feed his kids. Then he got his 3 yachts and 2 mansions repossessed. It's like I understand what you're saying. I completely agree that you're coming from really bad, almost no money. Even look at LeBron James, my favorite athlete. He came from some of the roughest areas in Akron. He had pretty much nothing as a kid. But it's kind of like, come on, even if you do come from nothing, 3 yachts and 2 houses.
Oh, yeah, that's why I said
it's
they're
not-
still ignorant.
Yeah, they should know, but I think anybody should know better than that you got to manage your money. And not only that, I do think that both of the leagues could maybe do a little bit more to try and educate these guys, especially if they don't have that money, I guess, knowledge of how to finance yourselves, how to do your own finances, that. And 2, I would also talk to them about the posses, especially if you're going to talk about guys coming out of low-income areas. I know that was a problem for Allen Iverson, your boy, for a long time. And he finally got rid of some of those, I'll call them hanger-oners, just guys who are there for your money. And I think that's the thing they definitely need to be told, because I've seen a lot of these guys, their posse can get them into a lot of trouble. Not just taking your money, but making you look bad, where your posse does something you weren't even there. I think that's what happened to Ray Lewis, I believe, with that whole thing. It was somebody in his posse that was the one who get into trouble, and then it comes back on him. So that's definitely something I'd like to see the NFL, NBA, all the pro sports kind of make a fact on.
Act professional is the basic point. I'm glad you brought that up, Ryan. Do your finances responsible. All these players say that. I mean, it's a game. It's the game that you were paid nothing to do, and now you're getting all this money. I get that, but it's a job too. I mean, you're still being paid for your actions. You put in the time, the work. Act it on the field, act it off the field. Take care of your family, fine, but don't get involved with the wrong people.
Yeah, I think it's definitely common sense, and we had a good debate right here on C4 Sports. I'm really proud of that one. A lot of insightful things. We changed everybody's minds. We enlightened everybody with that one. But that's going to take us to our first break here on C4 Sports. On the other side of this quick break, we have basketball coming up right away, NBA, and a little bit of college basketball. Then we got spring training for baseball, and I think we'll wrap up the show with a very, very disappointing Olympic hockey review, and hopefully a more positive, at least for us Blackhawks fans, and even our Blues fans. They're looking good too. We got a more positive second half of the NHL season coming up. That's all on the other side of this quick break. You're listening to C4 Sports on 88.3 FM, The Dog.
So you take the mouse and click over there, and then you can choose someone you want to call.
My niece. I click here?
Uh-huh.
This is Louisa. Recently, she got help going online to chat with her family back home.
Okay, so then you want to hit that green button.
This is her first time on the internet and her first time seeing her niece in 5 years. Louisa doesn't know what to expect.
Luisa? Oh my gosh. There she is. This is amazing.
It's so good to see you. You look so pretty.
But this is definitely way beyond.
Oh my gosh.
See what the internet can help you do at everyoneon.org or call 1-855-387-9166 to find a free training class near you. That's 1-855-387-9166.
Oh, I've missed you.
Oh, me too.
Brought to you by Connect to Compete and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back to C4 Sports right here on 88.3 The Dog. It's Matt, Ryan, Adam, and Darius. We're enlightening everybody after that last hour. We had a real good talk. We're sending that into ESPN as we speak. Darius is right on that with his extensive contact list. But as I always do, my personal favorite thing to watch during the NBA season is the MVP race. And surprisingly, I think my boy, my favorite player, LeBron, has overtaken Durant on NBA.com's MVP ladder that you can check by just Googling that. LeBron is 1, Durant is 2, Blake Griffin stays at 3, Paul George stays at 4, and Steph Curry jumps to 5. Some guys making their first appearance on the list is James Harden at 7, and the Bulls' Joakim Noah is at 10. Those two making their appearance on the ladder. For me, I got it pretty much the same, except I still have Paul George 3, Blake Griffin 4, and then I do have Steph Curry 5. But I also think I'd probably leave Durant at 1. Granted, LeBron did outduel him and beat him, but Durant was able to beat him earlier in the year, and Durant has had all those great games. LeBron has definitely turned it on since that game-winning shot right before the All-Star break and after the All-Star break. But the MVP isn't just after the All-Star break; it's the whole season. So that's why I think I still got Durant 1, but LeBron is closing that gap very quickly So I like the headline here they got is Durant's MVP ride hits king-size delay. I personally enjoy that. But I think that can take us into our first talking point, which was last Thursday's Thunder Heat game, which the Heat were able to win from a big game from LeBron James, capped off by that dunk, which for some reason was not called a foul. I guess I don't really know how that works. But Ibaka hit LeBron right in the nose, and he broke his nose, and LeBron will return to action tomorrow night against the Knicks. What did you guys take away from that Thunder Heat game? Not just LeBron Durant, but the two teams, since they could be the two teams we see in the finals. I mean, unless San Antonio and Indiana have anything to say, but there's a good possibility that could be your finals matchup this summer.
Well, I was disappointed in Kevin Durant's aggressiveness. We sat here for a while last Thursday talking about how Russell Westbrook coming back, how that was going to, if it was going to hurt Kevin Durant's MVP chances. And Durant didn't even come out aggressive. I believe that, LeBron had, 12 points before Durant even took a shot?
He had the first 12 points for Miami, and he had, their first, I think, 6 or 7 shots.
Yeah, LeBron came out and just the way I want to see him come out every game. He came out aggressive, and Kevin Durant seemed passive. Westbrook was not in sync, which, is to be expected. He hadn't played since Christmas. He had a lot of turnovers. But, I just wasn't pleased with Kevin Durant. And the game was a blowout so early. I was with some other people, some friends of mine, and we stopped watching the game. Like, the game was on TV, but we stopped watching. We having, NBA discussions and everything. And so, basically, after the end of the first quarter, we kind of stopped watching. I kind of agree with you that Kevin Durant is still first in MVP. I believe he dropped 42 just this past Sunday.
Yeah.
So, he's still up there, but LeBron is definitely right on his heels right now. And the Heat, I'm kind of going towards them winning the East now.
I think I heard a report they're thinking about picking up. I don't know how they're going to go about doing it. It's past the trade deadline, but I guess they're thinking about picking up Caron Butler as well.
He's going to get brought out by Milwaukee, so that's how they're going to end up getting him. But I'm kind of, and that's a very good pickup. I like Caron Butler. He definitely can still play.
He can help them a lot.
Yeah, but I'm leaning towards the Heat. Indiana, I said they were, they're the best team for a while, but they still, they had a nice little start coming out of the All-Star break. But I don't know. I just kind of changed on. I feel like the way LeBron is playing, when he's playing that aggressive, I don't really see how Indiana can really beat them because he's looking like, nobody's going to stop me. Like, he's playing, before he played, like he had to prove something for himself. But now it's like he's playing like somebody doubted him and saying Kevin Durant is better, which is dumb.
Well,
we
talked about how he plays last week when that Toronto game a few years ago when he was in Cleveland.
Exactly.
This is your fault for people talking smack to him.
The way LeBron is playing right now, and surprisingly, Dwayne Wade had one of his rare good games. And I'm starting to believe that, I don't know, maybe it is that he just doesn't care to play, unless it's teams that's important, and then he decides to show up.
I was going to say, I still think I'd pick Indiana, but there's one thing I've noticed being a huge LeBron fan, therefore following the Heat the past 3 years. Yeah. I've never seen a team in any sport turn it on in the playoffs. Every year, there's been question marks going into the playoffs. Oh, they only had this many wins. They struggled against these teams. Even last year, even with that 24-game win streak last year, there were still big questions. Oh, can they win? Then they just turn it on in the playoffs. They take it to another level. Wade consistently plays well. I don't want to say they don't try during the regular season, but I think they do kind of do a little bit of, I call it the San Antonio effect, where they kind of rest and they coast because they know they're going to be there. And for me personally, following this team the past 3 years, I have never seen somebody just turn it on in the playoffs. I had questions. I was scared. I didn't know if they were going to win it last year. I wanted to see LeBron do it, especially with Rose being out, so I didn't really expect anything from the Bulls, but I wanted to see LeBron win it then. And I was questioning them coming into the playoffs, and they just turned it on to a whole nother level, especially that Indiana series when they had to. It just seems like, I don't know if it's good or bad, but they turn it on when they need to. But I still think I'm going with Indiana. I like the Evan Turner pickup a lot for Indiana, but I love seeing my boy play with something to prove. It's been a lot of fun to watch.
I don't really care for the Evan Turner pickup. I feel like he's highly overrated.
Really?
Yeah.
I think he can help him, though.
Yeah, I don't know, because playoff time, it really comes to experience, and he's had, maybe 1 or 2 series, but I feel like Granger, just being a veteran, could have helped him a little bit more.
Well, I think they wanted to move him because I think they were paying him a lot from back when he was the star in Indiana.
Yeah, but his deal expires after this year anyway.
True.
So it really, and so does Turner's. So I feel like maybe secretly, and they're not going to say this, just in case Lance Stevenson walks this year, they have somebody who can make a slide in it. That's why I really. Well,
think
I heard
their reason for picking him up was say they're playing the Heat and Stevenson's struggling against Wade. You get somebody else that you can put in.
He's not any better. The fool can't shoot. What is he going to do? And the real reason I really kind of stepped back on Indiana is, I don't like how Paul George has been playing recently. I feel like, he had 2 nice games after the break, But I really feel like his play has decreased a lot over this past month, and
Yeah.
I'm not really. They struggle to score the ball, like just period.
Yeah.
They don't really have any scores. So if he's not scoring, then it's like, where's the offense coming from? They have
Yeah.
defense, but they can't score.
Well, if we're gonna go back to the Durant, this is the last thing I'll say for right now. Is I think kind of like Ryan, you were with me on this. Was Westbrook would take too many shots and that would hurt Durant. That's what I've seen. I watched another game. What was the other nationally televised
It was
game
Clippers,
they
I
played?
think, was
I watched
Sunday.
that game, and
Yeah.
they lost that game. Yeah, I watched that whole game with my roommate. Russell Westbrook's out there. He's jacking up threes. Specifically, the shot that this is what I thought was going to happen. It's kind of what I saw in the 2012 finals when I played Miami, and this is what I thought was going to happen. Was they were down like 4, and there was about a minute and a half left. They get a stop that they needed. Russell Westbrook dribbles the ball up, pull up 3 with a guy in his face. 2 seconds into the shot clock and just bricks it. What are you doing? Like, get Kevin Durant, the best scorer in the game, the ball. Now, I mean, I understand Russell Westbrook, a great player, arguably when he's healthy, best point guard in the NBA, but you have Kevin Durant. Other than LeBron James, there's nobody else on his level. It's those two. These are the two guys everybody's talking about. They dominate Sports Center, as they should. What are you doing? You're 2 seconds into the shot clock. Why are you pulling like almost a 40-foot three-pointer?
Yeah, I didn't see the game Sunday. So
I watched the whole game, and it's just Westbrook just takes so many bad shots, and he doesn't even look to get Durant the ball. And in clutch time, I think Westbrook shoots too much. When I understand, like, you got to take some of the shots, and he can make them, but he does not get Durant the ball enough when it's time to win. That hasn't changed. I haven't seen it change in the couple games I've seen him back. Maybe it will by the time the playoffs roll around, but that's what I've seen in the early days of Westbrook being back.
LeBron is going to win the MVP this year. What I said last week looks like it's going to
Yeah.
prove true. Unless Durant finally grows up and get rid of the servant name and get the Slim Reaper back and say, Westbrook, give me the ball. Unless he does that, it's LeBron's to lose now, especially after that game, which it's sad to see because Durant was
He put the team on his
awesome.
back,
Yeah.
so pretty big.
Going on with Indiana and the Heat, I think I haven't heard much from Indiana, and I think Indiana is happy with that right now. I think they're gonna do the Heat. The Heat, let's just be lazy for a while right now. They're just going to rest up. They got Turner in. I think they're just going to be lazy and let it go by. I don't care if they think one. They would love to have.
I was about to say they can afford to do that.
Yeah,
because
they can't give up home court.
Right.
That's what they were saying. That Game 7 was in Miami last year. I don't think Indiana will win a Game 7 in Miami.
I think they'll still stay 1, but I still like
They're
Indiana.
only like 2 games ahead.
Yeah, it's so close.
I still like Indiana over it, and I'm because I think LeBron just finally realized that Wade might not be here in the postseason, so he's gonna I better get my game ready for the postseason now instead of later, and I think that's where he's stepping up right now. And also, he wants that MVP, and he knew that he was losing it to Durant with all those games with 30+ points.
I'm glad you brought that up, Ryan. I can see the headline now. Wade's knees win LeBron MVP. LeBron picks his game up every time Miami's down a player. I mean, Chris Anderson goes out. LeBron has 10 rebounds. Wade goes out. LeBron has 5 steals and 6 assists. LeBron is just that special player that knows when to turn it on. And it's a once-in-a-generation type talent. I think KD could learn from LeBron. He needs to be more aggressive.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, you better get a straitjacket for Russell Westbrook if you're going to implement that 4-point line.
Oh, man.
But for OKC, I think they're kind of looking back right now. I mean, they're kind of in a transition period with getting Westbrook back.
Yeah.
And I kind of saw this coming. It's going to take time to gel. He's a star. You got 2 stars on your team. It's going to take time. And especially when they're both scoring players. I mean, Westbrook plays the point, but he's more of a shooting guard that plays the point. So we'll see. Indiana, I'm not giving up on. I think they're really deep. I do like the Evan Turner pick. I don't want him shooting too much because I think he's a little too streaky that way. But I think he's a guy that could give a little more height. He could, like you said, he could be a different matchup for Miami. You could throw him on Wade or you could even throw him on LeBron if you're going to throw multiple guys at LeBron in a 7-game series. I think the West is so good that OKC better not be looking at Miami because they got LA playing well.
I still don't think OKC is coming out of the West. I don't.
Yeah.
I like San Antonio if they're healthy. They're sticking around. They haven't been healthy all year, and they're what, the 2 seed, 3 seed,
2.5.
If they're healthy,
back.
which I think they will be, because this is Popovich we're talking about. I like San Antonio coming out of the West.
And I think with all this buyout talk going on right now, I think my team out of the West, the Clippers, came out big. I like the Big Baby Davis signing too. I think out of the Granger pickup and the Turner pickup, I think that's the best one because they needed a little front court help, and he's a guy who can actually shoot 50% free throws. Unlike Griffin or Jordan, and that's key down the stretch.
And I heard the Clippers are also in the running for Danny Granger because his buyout just got done, so they're in the running to get him
that
too.
Would make them very dangerous.
They're picking up. They got so many players. Man.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I don't even understand how many roster spots because they already got Hito Turkoglu and Sasha Vujacic. How many roster spots do the Clippers have?
Well, I think that can take us into our next point is who are the upstart teams you've been surprised with? I'm pretty sure they're going to come out of mainly the East, other than maybe if you're going to go Portland, because of how bad the East is. They've let a team like Washington is now at 500, I believe, with that win last night. John Wall has looked like a strong candidate. I'm surprised he's not on that MVP list. He's had a very good season. So who do you guys think you've been most impressed with? And we'll get to our next topic is least impressed with.
I said, well, first of all, it's not going to be anybody in the East. John Wall can be an MVP candidate because they still suck. They only one game over 500. Like, you're good in a bad East, which really means you're just bad. That's all that means. You're the best out of the worst. That's what they are. I'm actually looking at Houston, and I know that they have players, but 18-5 since January 1st, which is the best in the NBA. James Harden is playing great basketball right now. Right now, he's number 3 on my personal MVP list. They're third in the West, which, I mean, the Spurs, they're only 2.5, no, actually 1.5 behind the Spurs. You kind of flip that a little bit. They could pass them up because they're playing good ball. They passed up Portland, even though them and Portland have the same record, but it's off, like, winning percentage and all that. Like, the top 5 in the West are bunched up anyway. But James Harden, like I said, he's playing good ball, and they seem to be getting it all together right now. Houston is... And it hurts me to say that because I can't stand that center they got down there, so I refuse to say his name. But they're playing some good basketball. I like Patrick Beverly. I like Chandler Parsons. Those dudes are playing ball. And I know we talked about Phoenix earlier, man.
Yeah.
We talked about Phoenix. They hit a little losing streak, so they're in the 8th spot right now. But even to be in the playoffs for them is real impressive.
Well, Goran Dragic, because the last time I heard Goran Dragic's name was when Rose dunked all over him back in like 2010, and you had the Stacey King call where he was just yelling, Dragic, what are you doing? But after that, I don't know what happened to him. And then this year, he's just like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and have like multiple 30-point games. What's he averaging, like 21, 22 points?
So. And it's crazy because remember, they had Eric Bledsoe playing good too, and he got hurt. And Dragic just picked this game up. I've liked Dragic since, I forget what year it was. He was with the Suns originally, back when they had Steve Nash, and they played the Spurs in the playoffs. I believe he had like 22 in one of those games. Like it was a big playoff game, and he went off. And you know, left-handed point guards, I'm left-handed, so we all got to stand together. It's like an organization. It's a union of the left-handers. So I mean, Phoenix is definitely impressive. Like I said, them making the playoffs is even something that it really stands out to me. And I still got to ride with my boy Dame in Portland. They fell; they're 5th seed right now. But record-wise, they're basically a 3rd seed because they're all like tied up right in there. But Portland, they on a 3-game winning streak, which is impressive because LaMarcus Aldridge is out. He hasn't been playing.
Yeah.
So Dame has picked his game up as my favorite player in today's game should. Because that's another union, primetime ballers. That's another union we got. I'm a part of a lot of unions,
You're just a part of a lot of things.
Yeah,
in
there's so
general.
much going on. It's wonder, how I have time for schoolwork these days.
How do you even sleep?
I don't know. Somehow I find time.
Class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, that's it for me, man. Portland, Phoenix, and who else? I say Houston.
I would have to go probably with Phoenix as my number 1. I think I had heard Dragic, and kind of like from 2009 to 2012, he was a pretty solid player. There were just a bunch of really good point guards throughout the league, and there still is. I watched All-Star Weekend the whole time on TNT, and I loved it. I think that's helped grow the NBA a lot. I think that's Stern's maybe his biggest accomplishment besides overseas stuff. But Dragic was in the skills competition, which I like, and he just looks so smooth.
Yeah.
He's a lefty, and I have a soft spot for left-handed point guards who can shoot. Even in baseball, compare it to baseball, those sweet swinging lefties. There's nothing better. I throw left-handed. I bat left-handed. It just doesn't look better than like a Ken Griffey or someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'll kind of switch it over to the East a little bit. I think Toronto's been above average, and I compliment that, being the only team from up north. They don't get the media exposure that the teams down in the States do, but they've done a nice job, and I think specifically DeMar DeRozan is an up-and-comer that you should really pay attention to, because I liked him out of USC. Not a lot of people did. He was a young kid. Some thought that maybe he came out a little too early. I really like this game. The guy can shoot, score. He can do everything at the guard position.
Yeah, he's had a great year.
I will speak his name, Darius, and I will say Dwight Howard, James Harden, and Chandler Parsons down in Houston have been my surprise team. I thought it was just going to be a building up year for them. I don't think there was too many egos going in unless it was Howard's, and Howard's ego is bad enough. That's why I thought it would take him a year to get used, but it hasn't. It took to the All-Star. Well, it took till January 1st, and then after that, it just exploded. They're playing awesome. Howard has a smile on his face for a good reason now, and I know you hate him. Seeing him back in L.A., helping out with the chant of Howard sucks, it was nice to see. I mean, he likes where he's at. I'm happy to see him in a good spot. It's been a long time coming. But I like the Clippers just because of their record, but I don't like their team. And I guess I'll say my disappointment team would have to be either the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Took mine.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And I'm even going to say the Chicago Bulls. I was expecting a little bit more, even with Rose out. That has depressed me. But just Cleveland Cavaliers, I mean, Kyrie Irving, all he's talking about is that he's going to be awesome. He's there, he's committed, now he wants out. And you pick Anthony Bennett as your first pick, and he's been such a wonderful player this year.
Yeah, I have to agree, definitely. For me, I guess my surprise team, I want to say Phoenix is number one. I did not expect. I thought they were going to be last. Them or Utah, and now they're just balling over there. I also think Portland is up there, and for me, I started out with I do like the Wizards. I expected nothing from them, and I mean I know the East is pretty horrible, but for them to be even a game over 500, I think is pretty good. I respect John Wall. I've always thought he was going to be a very good player, and we're finally starting to see it. Even though he was kind of brought up in a losing culture, so that's good to see from him, and good to see the Wizards back being good with him leading the team. Definitely, though, I think I got a lot of disappointments, especially the Cavaliers. They were my team to watch coming in this year. I was hyping up Kyrie Irving as an MVP candidate, and he has pretty much let me down. The Cavaliers, I should have known when they took Anthony Bennett, like you said, as their first pick. That was a bad sign. But Irving's been pretty disappointing despite the All-Star Game MVP. Now he apparently, it's reported unofficial that he has requested to get out of Cleveland. Honestly, I'm a little disappointed with Golden State. They were my team to watch in the West. They've had a pretty good season, but not as good as I thought they were going to have, nor everybody else. They were kind of the team to watch. Everybody was hyping them up because of their shooting ability and their high-paced offense and the lockdown defense. I've watched them play multiple times. I don't want to say they're struggling, but they're definitely not at the top of the West right now like we thought they would be. I heard multiple people pick them who know basketball pick them as their NBA champion to start the year, or at least coming out of the West, and I would not say they're even close to that level yet. And also I'm going to go with the Denver Nuggets. I know they lost a couple of their pieces, especially they lost Andre Iguodala to Golden State, but I thought they were a good team. A big fan of the Manimal. I like the pieces they have. I thought they could be, kind of how Indiana had been in the past couple of years. They're a solid team. They might not win the title or go to the conference finals, but they're a good team that could threaten a lot of good teams in the playoffs because they play well together. They have complementary players. They're just missing that superstar, but they've struggled this year. They had the whole Andre Miller saga, and I believe he finally got traded out of there.
To the Wizards.
Yeah, and they got Aaron Brooks. I saw Aaron Brooks' first game in Denver. And I kind of expected more things from Denver. They've kind of disappointed me. I've watched them actually a decent amount of times, 4 or 5 times this year, and they have not looked good at all times. I've seen them when I thought they would work well as a unit. It hasn't been a good first year for, I believe, Brian Shaw as their new head coach. They got rid of George Karl. Why? I don't know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I should have known after they did that, but still, I expected more from them.
Yeah, disappointment. You hit it right on the head. The team I was going to go to, Golden State. I had them winning the West. Right now, they're a 6 seed, which, I mean, before Phoenix hit this little losing streak, they were sitting at 7th, and they were close to being 9th, which would take them out the playoffs. Totally disappointed in them. I have no idea what's going on. They have the ball players. I mean, Andre Iguodala was hurt early on. He's still struggling with the little hamstring thing. But, I mean, overall, they should be a lot better than what they are. And then the only other team I have is Minnesota. The Timberwolves, for like the 100 straight years, it seems, the past 3 years, they had players that made it seem like they could compete for an AC, but they had injuries. There's no injuries on the team this year. Pekovic is out now, but I mean, throughout the year, there was no injuries, and the dudes are sitting at number 10. And I don't understand like what's going on. And I'm starting to go towards Kevin Love has a little bit of a problem. And let me tell you why. He puts up great numbers, and I feel sorry for him that he's with the team that can't win, and I'm ready for him to get out of there. But if you can't even get your team to the playoffs one time, then it reflects on you a little bit.
Yeah.
It's starting to be a problem. I mean, even Tracy McGrady with bum Magic teams at least got them to the playoffs. He can't get to the playoffs one time. It's a little bit of an issue with him. I don't know what it is, but
maybe it's just he's destined to be that Scottie Pippen role player. Maybe
are they like 6 games out of the playoffs?
They're
4, at least 4. If I've heard that.
They're 5.5.
Yeah, that's a lot, and I forgot about that. And because I was just saying that. Watch out for Minnesota when we did the preview last semester. I thought they were going to do something more. Thank you for bringing up Minnesota. I forgot about Minnesota.
I'd like to start in the mecca of basketball as someone.
Oh
my gosh!
both teams.
I think you all kind of forgot about them, but just like
no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
It was
too obvious because none of us thought they would be this bad. You were absolutely right.
It's an absolute debacle. I mean, when New York's good, the NBA is really good.
Absolutely.
I mean, when Patrick Ewing in there and James
Starks.
No,
John Starks.
John Starks. Thank you.
James Starks. Okay, represent Green Bay too. I see how it is.
Yeah. You know, I gotta plug the Packers.
And Oakley in there. I mean, that was great.
Even Latrell Sprewell. I loved the Latrell Sprewell days. He was fun to watch.
Allen Houston. We're gonna show you some love too then.
But actually, I didn't have much expected for the Knicks this year because I think Carmelo is going elsewhere, and I thought that before the season. But the Nets have been an absolute travesty. I knew Jason Kidd. I didn't really have faith in him. I mean, the guy just got done playing last year. I'm not a fan of that. But I thought they'd be better. And losing Lopez hurts a lot. I think he's an all-star caliber player and deserves so, even though I think he's a little soft. But otherwise, Cleveland, as you said, I was big on Deion Waiters. I think he was going to make a big splash in his second year.
Yeah.
He is the definition of a sophomore slump right now.
Really
he wants out of Cleveland. He can't play with Kyrie. And that's a problem because Kyrie is the only thing that's keeping Cleveland afloat right now. Maybe even the city. The Indians started spring training. Otherwise, not a whole lot else. Minnesota has been their usual self. It's unreal.
I think real quick before we go to our second break, we'll wrap up the 2 kind of big social issues in the NBA. One, I guess, good in a way. The other is definitely bad. Jason Collins, first openly gay player to play for the NBA. He made his debut. Not very impressive, as to be expected. And, of course, Raymond Felton on his gun charges. If you guys could touch both of those before we go to this break. Because, I mean, we only got about 20 minutes left.
Yeah. Ryan, you go ahead, because I know you want to go with Jason Collins.
Yeah, Raymond Felton, I don't get why in the players thing that the Knicks can't punish them right now. That is boggles my mind, and that's going back to the old story about image problem. If a team can't punish a player because of gun charges, then something's wrong. I hope that story figures itself out. But with the Jason Collins thing, I guess and it's been a while, shame on the Brooklyn Nets and shame on the NBA. First, I mean, I would have been okay if he was signed in the beginning of the year, but to give him a 10-day contract kind of said, ha ha, NFL, I'm going to get here before you, we're going to jump on the first player to be actively gay before you guys do. And that 10-day contract is just embarrassing. And Jason Collins, I would have never signed it in the first place. It's just stupid. How a 10-day contract, pathetic. Just outright pathetic.
I'll touch on the Raymond Felton thing first too. You know, I'm all for guns or whatever, but if you don't have a license, you're not helping the people who with guns, who use them for recreational purposes. I'm a big hunter. I like my guns. I use them for hunting. But you're going to get them taken away from us. I don't like that. Plus, I need to know more information about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine. If you don't have a license, that's not fine. But if you're abusing women, you have no place in society. I mean, you should be shunned just for that. It doesn't have a place. As far as the Jason Collins thing, I think it is kind of shoving it in the face of the NFL, saying we kind of beat you to it. But, I mean, I'm Catholic and such, but hey, good for him, I guess. I mean, he's kind of served his time, and he's been the face of the this movement now. I guess he's kind of served his time, and he deserves it, and maybe he goes beyond that 10-day contract. I would like to see Brooklyn kind of keep him. Also, I'd like to point out that maybe the Nets did this because, hey, we want to get those New York Times back pages.
Maybe. Well, it definitely helped the jersey sales because he has the #1 selling jersey on NBA.com, which, I mean, how many 10-day contract guys you know that even have a jersey that's being sold? So, I mean, I agree 100% with you, Ryan, that it was all a media ploy just to beat the NFL because otherwise he would have been signed earlier. And I don't think he'll beat the 10-day contract because I believe Kevin Garnett was hurt, so they needed big man size. But his skill set show he's still the same bum that he was before. So I don't necessarily have a problem with him playing. I just feel like the circumstances around it wasn't, like, you know, legitimate. Mm-hmm. As far as Raymond Felton, I feel like the Knicks, you can't punish him yet because the whole story isn't complete. The story from what I've heard is that his ex-wife, who he just got a divorce from, is the one who turned the gun into the police. And supposedly it's two different stories. I just read that it was in the home, and she said that she thought he was going to harm himself, so she turned it in. And another story I heard is that he pointed it out at her, and then somehow she got the gun. I don't know if she was watching Rush Hour, and she found out how to, you know, reverse the gun the other way, and then she turned it in to police. But this sounds a little fishy. The way it sounds to me, and it's just a little street knowledge, you know, I mean, and if I'm wrong, then I will apologize to her on this radio show, you know, later on, and I'm sure she'll find out. Because, you know, I know Stephen A., he know Carmelo, who knows Raymond Felton, and get through that. But I feel like since they, you know, they're getting a divorce or whatever, then she found a way how she could hurt his image. The Knicks already suck, so as a player that Knicks were trying to get rid of him, let's hurt his image a little bit more. Let's turn this gun into the police, which he had for a while, even when they were married, of course. Now, all of a sudden, we want to turn it in as unregistered and cause more problems. So I feel like she was on a little bit of some snake stuff, but I mean, it is what it is. But I feel like the NBA is smart and the Knicks are smart to not punish them until we get the complete story.
So you think it was a little like snake stuff, a little shady?
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, I agree. I think the Jason Collins thing, good for him for playing.
Yeah.
I do have to say this isn't his fault.
Good for him playing. Though.
I guess is the only non-religious one here. I might be conservative, but I am agnostic. I don't recognize with any organized religion. I don't know. I agree though that I think it was kind of just a media ploy on the part of the Nets and the NBA. I don't know if it was necessarily to shove it in the face of the NFL, but it is kind of convenient that it happened at that time. But I don't know. I think it's just being overblown, honestly. It's just a media circus, and I choose not to focus on it. Good for him. That's all I got to say. With Raymond Felton, it's another thing I choose not to focus on too much. I think that's an interesting opinion Darius had. some little shady like ex-marital components at work there. I think that's an interesting theory. But once again, I guess it's I don't really know if he was going to go anywhere. He's not the best point guard in the NBA.
Exactly.
Even though I was a fan because he was part of that '05 Carolina team that I like to go back to. But I think that'll take us to our second break, and it'll be our final break until the end of the show. We only got about less than 20 minutes left, so we got baseball and hockey. I think we'll skip college basketball. We really didn't have anything for college hoops, not too much other than the Carolina beating Duke and Duke beating Syracuse. So when we come back, we'll be talking some baseball, spring training right around the corner, and then we got hockey second half predictions coming up right next on C4 Sports right here on 88.3 The Dog.
From the vantage point, Mafatu saw 6 war canoes drawn up on the beach, but what held the boy's eyes in awful trance were the figures springing and leaping about the flames, darting, shifting, bounding toward the sky, the eaters of men. Cannibals. Firelight glistened on their oiled bodies, on flashing spears and bristling decorations. Mafatu watched the strange scene, powerless to move, and he felt doom itself breathing chill upon his neck. In that very instant, he heard a crashing in the undergrowth. 4 figures were tearing toward him through the jungle. He could see them now. He turned and ran blindly down the trail, slipping, sliding, stumbling, his breath all but choking in his throat. Only one thought gave him courage as he ran. His canoe ready and waiting. If only he could reach it before the savages overtook him. Explore new worlds. Find out what happens next by reading the book Call It Courage by Armstrong Sperry. For other great book ideas, visit literacy.gov. A message from the Library of Congress and the Ad Council.
We are back here on C4 Sports, and Ryan and I will talk a little baseball quick. Spring training has officially begun down in Arizona and Florida. Just a couple headlines to cover. Mike Trout got a new deal from the Angels. He was still on his rookie deal, and of course he's worth much more than 6 figures. He's gonna get his payday. He signed a 1-year, $1 million deal. He's arbitration eligible after the season. Ryan, what do you think?
I think this is toilet paper money compared to what he's going to get next year. He's going to rake in the dough, especially being young. But I'm glad to see that they're pushing back from that 12-year deal, and they're looking more at a 6-year, $150 million. Like we were talking last week with the big contracts, that 6 years probably the max for the MLB. Mm-hmm. There's too much that can go on in 6 years. It's glad to see that. He should have gotten a lot more, but he can't with that contract because he was definitely the Angels' best player the last 2 years because their other big money makers haven't done crap. So,
I think, of course, Trout is going to get this big money after this season, and it'll be interesting to see if LA actually has the money to keep him because you remember. You talk about those big kind of ridiculous contracts. Yeah, Albert Pujols, he's on a 10-year, $250 million deal right now. So that's a lot of money invested in an aging player who's declining. His numbers have continued to decline. Trout's going to get his, and with all the big deals that, I would say these kind of average or above average players are getting these days, there's going to be big money for him. Mm-hmm. And maybe especially with the starting pitchers coming up these days, there's a lot of good young pitching. The Fernandez kid down in Miami, a couple of the Cardinals kids, you'll see Waka
is going to make a boatload of money.
Right, and I, as a Cardinals fan, and you too, Ryan,
yep.
I really want to see him in St. Louis for the rest of his career. I think he's the real deal. And also I want to touch on something. I looked at MLB.com today a little bit, and I formulated kind of like my surprise team of the year. And I'm going to go in New York. I'm going to go with the Mets. Now, they play in the NL East, and the Braves are always good. And the Phillies are kind of rebuilding, and Miami's rebuilding, of course. But I think pitching dominates in today's game, and they've got 3 of the best young arms. Syndergaard is a guy you haven't heard of yet. They had a long lefty, his name slips my mind right now, who pitched last year. Harvey's coming off of some Tommy John surgery. Parnell's back. They signed Bartolo Colon to a deal. And on the offensive side, they got Granderson. So I'm looking forward to the Mets.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking. There's a couple teams that I have to wait to see to make opinions on right now. But I guess the only story that I have coming out of the MLB, and Darius was the only one that I think brought it up, was good old Buck Showalter had a player, 19 years old. Marte was his last, or Martin or something. I forget what his last name was. But he's for the Orioles organization, and the kid had no idea who Frank Robinson was. So good old Buck Showalter, bringing out in his old age, made his athlete write a one-page paper on who Frank Robinson is. And if you don't know, just highlights, he's the only player to win the MVP in both the American and NL League. He was also the first African-American coach ever. He coached for the Washington team, I think.
Yeah,
Senators when they were back there. So I mean, he's was big in coming up in civil rights for African American ball players, and that's nice to see. That I think if you're part of the organization, you need to know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see that because somebody brought up goes like, well, some of these NBA players need to be taught that because like people thought that NBA was made by
Magic and Jordan.
Magic
Yeah, I think
Johnson,
Wilbon said it today. Yeah.
So because like, but nobody knows about Oscar Robinson and all that back in the day.
Or George Mikan and them boys. Yeah.
People need to know who those old timers are.
Well, just for any NBA franchises out there, I do know the history, so if you want to sign me today, do not be afraid.
Real quick before we move to NHL talk, what do you guys think for my Chicago White Sox? Because I really have paid no attention at all.
Another disappointing year.
Rebuilding year.
Because I normally go to like 2 or 3 games a summer, so I wonder what I want to see.
Go when they're playing the Yankees so you can see Derek Jeter's last trip, I guess.
Okay, now I got a team question. What y'all think about them Washington Nationals?
I think they're big contenders.
Okay. Because they disappointed me last year.
They were disappointing, but I was expecting that because Bryce Harper, I didn't know what he was going to do. I had question marks, even with their pitching staff. And you saw that against the Cardinals in the postseason. I think they're top contenders. I think the NL is the league to watch this year. Too many good players. I think, I'm going to say right now, whoever comes out of the NL this year, I can't say if my Cardinals are going to do it, if the Nationals are going to do it, but I'm going to say whoever comes out of the NL in October is going to win the World Series this year.
See, I'm not too high on the Nats this year, actually, because the Mets are in that division.
Right.
And I think, actually, the Mets might finish second and, maybe give the Braves a run for their money. I think Atlanta does win that division. But with the 2 wild card thing this year, and I know the NL Central is... It's hard to picture only one team in the postseason from the NL Central, especially with the Reds and the Cardinals and Pirates now. But you could see possibly, the Mets and the Nats getting in somehow. As far as your White Sox, Matt, the one thing that I did like out of their offseason is that they got this Jose Abreu kid out of, I want to say, Venezuela. I guess he's a nice player, and Diane Viciedo had a really nice year the first year he came and played for the White Sox. Hopefully he can repeat that.
Yeah.
Another thing I liked, there was a lot of heat around manager Robin Ventura. They hung on to him. They signed a big deal for him. I like that. He knows the game. He was probably the greatest college baseball player ever. If you didn't know, played at Oklahoma State, set records for average, doubles, I want to say. So I think he knows what he's doing. I think he's going to get that turned around.
All right, good. I'm glad to hear that. So hopefully the games I go to aren't too bad this summer. And as long as we beat the Cubs and win, I think it's the BP trophy. They give out a trophy now, Sox versus Cubs. I give thumbs up to the White Sox. That's what I'm worried about. So we got about roughly 6 minutes left, and we'll end the show with some
5
hockey.
minutes, somebody shows up.
Yeah. We got
inside joke.
We got some hockey talk. We'll start real quick with a very disappointing Olympic wrap-up. Team USA lost to Canada. We were outclassed in every way. All our scoring chances came from the boards, really, other than Quick. And I honestly felt Patrick Kane played pretty well, but it doesn't matter. Every scoring chance came from the boards. Canada dominated us in each and every way to take the 1-0 win. Then Canada went on to beat Sweden in the gold medal game. Jonathan Tays had a big game, as well as Crosby, and I don't remember who added the empty netter. The Team USA, though, showed up flat. Kane missed 2 penalty shots after the first period. Nobody decided to play. What I took away, Duncan Keith is by far the best defensive player in the NHL, and he should win the Norris Trophy this year. And honestly, I don't know. I don't know for sure if the Hart is given specifically to forwards, whereas the Norris Trophy is given only to defensive players, and they don't have a true MVP award. But the MVP right now should be Duncan Keith. I've met him before. He's a great, quiet guy, and he makes so many plays. Especially watching that USA, he broke up about 3 or 4 2-on-1s or even breakaways. I think he had one. He makes plays that don't show up on the stat sheet. But I watch a lot of hockey. There's not a better defender in the NHL than Duncan Keith right now.
Taken away, and USA disappointed me, especially getting the silver in 2010 and almost winning it. I'm gonna say with that whole Duncan Keith, and this is not coming from a Blues fan. This is coming from a fan. The NHL will never give it to him because there's a person called Crosby
and
Ovechkin that is going to get it, and it's sad to see that because I wish MVPs would come out more towards
even goalies. Give goalies some credit.
Goalies. So that's where I'm at with all that.
Because I'm just not sure. I'll look it up for next show because I know the Vezna's for best goalie, the Norris is for best defender, and I know the Hart is kind of what they look at as the MVP. And I think I don't know if it's just for forwards. I know it always every year goes to a forward, but I don't know if that's what they use as the MVP or if it's just best forward like the Vezina and the Norris.
Usually forwards get the MVP. I don't know if there's something different.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little credit as far as NHL talk. You could see a contender possibly being a forward for that Hart Trophy is Steen for the Blues.
Yeah, he's
this
real
year.
good.
He's had a real good season. As far as the Olympics, I think the results of the USA-Canada game didn't really surprise me. I always thought coming into the Olympics for USA Hockey, it was going to be about Kane, and I knew they could defend, but it was how they were going to score.
Yeah.
I knew there were questions in goal with Miller or Quick.
I thought Quick played really well.
And I thought that too. But it just came down to they couldn't get it in the offensive zone even.
Mm-hmm.
Their looks were right from the boards, and Canada's were right in front of Quick. It's a miracle that Quick only gave up 2. So, and then to fall flat against Finland, you could kind of expect that, but I think USA Hockey is a little more proud than that.
Yeah. We should have showed up because the medal meant something to Finland. It seemed like medal didn't mean anything to us.
Yeah, well, I want to say, Teemu Selanne.
Yeah, that's my boy.
Was playing in his last Olympics, so they played for him, and we'll see. I think you need some youth. Oshie for the Blues played, had a huge game against Russia. Social media went crazy, so you could see some youth coming into USA Hockey possibly.
All right, our final question. Who do you see coming out of each conference right now? Because we got Pittsburgh leading the East and Anaheim leading the West.
I have Pittsburgh versus the Blues.
Okay.
Pittsburgh versus Kings.
I got Pittsburgh's Blackhawks right now. And that's going to wrap it up for this week's show of C4 Sports. I am Matt Langman. That is at LmanMatt93.
I'm at Mason_IL Chief.
I am at Nobody Finder.
And this your boy Darius Hawkins at _Hawk_13.
All right, so keep it right here on 88.3 The Dog for the best in urban music for the rest of the night, for the rest of the C4 Sports crew. Thanks for listening, everybody. This is 88.3 FM, The Dog.
Boom.